So on the next page, we're again looking at graphs, and I have a slight advantage here than I think you do because my graph is in color and your graphs are not. But we can tell by looking at the black and white copy which one's dashed and which one's solid. So in looking at yours, the F is the red solid curve, the G is the blue dashed, and they're asking which is larger, F of 0 or G of 0. Well, on the G blue dashed curve, G of 0 looks to be about here. So G of 0 looks to be about a half. F of 0, much higher up, is at 3. So the larger one is F of 0. Now, did I need to find those? No. I could have just looked at it and go, wow, F of 0 is way higher than G of 0, so it's bigger. All right. You can do the same thing with this next one, which is larger, F of negative 3. F, remember, is the solid. G of negative 3 is the dashed. So I come over here to negative 3, and I look to see, okay, who's on top? The blue dashed line is, and a blue dash was the G. So G of negative 3 is larger. Now, if you wanted to estimate it, G of negative 3 looks to be about the number 2. F of negative 3 looks to be like negative 1. So, yeah, positive 2 is bigger than negative 1. So my answer, G of negative 3. For which values of x is f of x exactly equal to g of x? So when we say that, that means that we're looking to see where do they intersect? Like what values do they have in common? Where is your output the same? And it's right here, and it's also right here. So we're looking for the x values though. The x value here would be at negative 2, and then the other one would be at positive 2. Right, because at f of negative 2 and g of negative 2, the answers are both 1. At f of positive 2 and g of positive 2, the answers are both 2. So the values, the y part of the answer, are the same. Okay. For letter D, for what values of x, and now we're dealing with an inequality, so we got to think interval notation. For what values of x are we looking at f of x being less than or equal to g of x? So f of x is going to be below g of x. So the question is, where is the red below the blue? All right. So here's the red below the blue, and then the red is below the blue right up until here, because then we have no more blue. Blue finishes here at 3. So the values of x starting here at negative 4, got an equals, so I'm going to put a bracket, all the way over to negative 2, or pick it up here at 2, and then only as far as 3, because at 3, that's where the G stops. There's no more G, so you can't say clear way out here to 4, so it stops at 3. Okay. So then using your graph, find x values, again, in inequality. So I'm looking for an interval for where f of x is bigger than g of x. Where is the f function on top of the g function? Well, that would be right here. Kind of fill it in a little bit. But the x value starting here at negative 2, all right, and then going over to positive 2, you got to worry a little bit about what brackets or parentheses, what are you using here? And because there's no equals, We're just going to be using parentheses on that. All right. So that's the end of the lecture notes for section 2.3. That's what we were going to cover on Friday. What I need for you to do is to go into WebAssign now and do section 2.3 for the rest of your redirected class day. All right, so I will be looking to see who does their WebAssign 2.3 by Monday. Have a good one, guys.